everyone. Today is October 15th, and it is International Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. And I wanted to officially tell my story of my pregnancy loss in hopes that it'll inspire other women to open up and understand that it is okay to talk about. And so I will just tell my story. So my husband and I had been trying for about a year, kind of, to get pregnant. And when we did the first time, it was November of 2000. And I took like one pregnancy test, it came back positive, and then like the next day I took another one and it wasn't. So that one we lost pretty early on, I would say. And the only reason I know it was a pregnancy loss is because what my body did afterwards was very different than a normal menstruation. So then the next month, before that I had been like, tracking ovulation and doing all this stuff to try to get pregnant. And then in December, I finally was like, I'm just not gonna bother with that. I'm not gonna worry about it because we had set up a appointment to go see an infertility specialist anyways, just in case, because we were older. But then in December, unbeknownst to me, we got pregnant and didn't really realize it until a couple of weeks into January. And I took a pregnancy test, didn't believe it because I was like, okay, why would this happen now? Of course it happens like when you stop trying. And then I took another one and another one. I took a bunch and they all came back positive. And I called my OBGYN, and of course she was out that week on vacation. But they had me come in and do blood work, and they had me come and do an ultrasound anyways. And when we first had an ultrasound, the ultrasound tech was like, I think this is a ectopic or cornual. I want you to come back next week when your doctor is here and get it checked again. So, that's kind of a scary thing to hear, that there's already an issue with your pregnancy. But even before that, just right when I found out I was pregnant, I had this uneasy feeling like something was going to happen. And I don't think I manifested anything bad. I don't think it's like that. I think I just knew something was going to happen that wasn't right. Like, call it mother's intuition, whatever. I just kind of knew. But anyways, I had that next appointment, and the embryo, it was surrounded by uterine tissue, so we assumed it was okay. And I did end up seeing maternal fetal medicine specialists, high-risk pregnancy specialists, just because I have a heart condition, I've had cancer, I've had a lot of health problems, so we decided that was the right path to go on for pregnancy maintenance. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but whatever. So anyways, we had, I had different ultrasounds. They came back fine. Baby's heartbeat was fine. All the while, I just still had this feeling. And, weeks went on, and, we had our 12-week ultrasound, and the baby was like moving a ton and really active. And so I started to get excited, trying to push those uneasy feelings back, because I thought, oh, maybe it's just like regular pregnancy worries, but that's not what it was. I know now. But anyways, so we did like genetic testing and found out the gender of the baby at like 13 weeks. We had that done, or 12 weeks, and then found out at 13 weeks she was absolutely fine. And yes, it was a she. We were having a little girl. And then about 16 weeks in, I thought my water broke. I thought something happened. I thought my water broke in the middle of one night, and we went to OSU, who was managing where my MFMs were, and they checked everything and they said everything's okay. She looks fine. Oh, what I forgot to mention is that in that 12-week scan, they also told me I had called an accreta. And if you don't know what that is when your placenta actually grows into your uterine tissue so that it can't come out when you give birth. Like after you give birth, the placenta can't come out. So generally when that happens, they either have to figure out a way to scrape it out, which apparently is super duper painful, or they have to just do a full-on hysterectomy. Those are really the only options. But I was okay. I was like, okay, well, if we just have one kid, that's fine. That's fine. And I didn't really know the full span of the scariness, I guess, of what an accreta can really be. So anyways, then at 17 weeks, one day I started having like really bad, this is TMI, but I had diarrhea really bad one day, and I thought my mucus plug came out, but I wasn't sure that's what it was. I had no idea. So I just kind of went on with the day, and I had a lot of like gastrointestinal issues during the pregnancy, or what I thought were gastrointestinal issues. Now I think back and I don't think that's what they were. But yeah, I had just side pain and things. I thought, oh, it's like normal pregnancy pain. You know, I'm overreacting. All the while still thinking in my head, there's something not right. There's something not right. But anyways, after 17 weeks, I didn't know. I just had trouble sleeping. I was in a lot of pain. I thought it was gastrointestinal because I had no idea what I was dealing with. And the pain was constant. When I thought of like labor pains, I thought like, okay, they come every so often. You know, it's not constant pain like I was in. I just didn't think that that's what was happening. And before that, just before that, I had started having a little bit of spotting like a couple days before. Nothing bad. It was actually what is considered normal, but it just kind of was like another thing that like something's not right in my head. But anyways, the night when we lost her, I was just downstairs because I couldn't sleep and having to go to the bathroom a lot and trying to eat crackers and like drink some tea and stuff to just sort of what I thought would calm my stomach down a little bit. And I, again, like I said, would try to go to sleep here and there and fought this pain for several hours. And finally it got so bad, a pain I've never felt before. I said, oh my gosh, something's wrong. Screamed upstairs to my husband because he was sleeping still. Because this pain was like, it was insane. And so he comes downstairs. We decide, okay, we need to call the MFM. And of course it was like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or something. I think it was probably closer to 3:30. Anyways, we called, called the on-call doctor, didn't get back to us. This pain was just like not okay. And I knew something was wrong. I knew we probably needed to go in. And so I called back, tried to get, in touch with somebody who would tell us like what to do. And in that time, before they even called us back, I had to go to the bathroom again, and I went in and I was wiping and I felt something and I got really confused. And so I pulled what I was feeling, and half of my daughter came out. Half of her. She ripped in two. That's probably the most traumatic thing I will ever see in my life. It's hard to talk about, obviously. Right, we got our handy dandy Kleenex here. Why did I do a full face of makeup? I don't know, it's just me, whatever. So half of her came out. I panicked. I was like, what is this, her twin? Like, what's going on? What the hell is this? This is half of a baby. I was freaking out. Brandon came in. We're screaming, freaking out. Cause like, what the heck is this? It's half a child, you know, tiny little feet. It was awful. And, so we called back and they're like, oh my gosh, come back in, like come immediately. We're like, yeah, duh. And remember, I had this accreta, so the placenta and the other half of our daughter was still in me. So we got to OSU, waiting for doctors, lots of testing, lots of checking things. I was still in a lot of pain. And they'd never seen anything like that, with a baby like ripping in half and like at home, and they were just like flabbergasted. And finally, an MFM doctor that I'd never seen before got assigned to my case. And thank God she did. The doctors, every doctor I talked to before said, you know, we're gonna try to get the rest of this out, but we're probably gonna have to do a hysterectomy. What I didn't realize is that my life was actually in danger. I was too much in freak out mode, like too much in like shock to really understand and grasp that concept because of this accreta. I could bleed out. Didn't really cross my mind. I was too busy like trying to figure out what I was dealing with. And my husband emotionally kind of understood right away what was happening. And so his reaction was very different than mine. He was really emotional and upset, with good reason. And I just wasn't there. I just wasn't kind of in this shock, do what we need to do mode. So anyways, we finally get to this doctor, Dr. Rude. And she was coincidentally the doctor I was going to be seeing the very next week for like my 18-week checkup, but I hadn't met her yet. And so we were going through the options, and there were like 3 options. Like, we can try to use medicine to induce the rest of the labor, or we can just go in surgically, do a hysterectomy, or there was another way to more slowly like induce the rest of her to come out, as awful as that sounds. And that was it. And that was going to be like, okay, well then they'd have to do a hysterectomy ultimately, and we wouldn't be able to have children. So we were just sort of panicked. And then she came back after talking to what she said was everybody in the hospital. And she said, we have another option. We don't do it here very often. We've done it maybe a few times here at OSU. It's been done several other places pretty regularly. And that is to get the rest of the baby out, but tie off the placenta and leave it. And if we do this, we have to have you in the hospital for a week to monitor you, to make sure you don't have an infection or hemorrhage. And then ultimately, in some weeks after that, we'll go in and just have that uterus removed. I say that uterus. What I didn't say before is that I have 2 uteruses. I had what we thought was 2 uteruses. It's called uterine didelphys. That's what we thought I had. So anyways, we decided to go with that 4th option. They put me under, after like 24 hours, because they gave me an epidural and put something in to help my cervix open, things like that. And I have 2 cervixes, by the way, since you didn't ask. I then had the procedure, stayed in the hospital for a week. I was on IV medicine the whole time. It's just, being in the hospital for that long is just like no fun. And this is coming from somebody who has had heart surgeries, cancer, like I've been through it. So just, it's a lot. And I then went home, and then we were going to see another specialist. This specialist was actually an oncologist, but this was who was going to try to take that uterus out and leave the other one and preserve fertility so that we could still have kids, possibly have kids in the future with my other uterus. So several weeks went by. We had a meeting with her thinking, oh, we'll schedule this surgery in a few weeks, but she wanted to wait even longer. I was getting blood work every single week to make sure my HCG level was going down and the placenta was in fact dying, which it was. And I was bleeding like the whole time, like you do after you give birth. I would say I had like a 6 month of bleeding. It was gross. And we finally get a surgery scheduled. It was in July. And mind you, this happened end of March, early April. And that surgery, they went in. I was still in a lot of pain. They went in and found adhesions. So my accreta had grown into and started to attach to my colon, my abdominal wall, and my pancreas or my kidney, something like that. It started growing into stuff, and that could have been like, had the pregnancy continued, that would have probably killed me, because that's, starts in going into other organs. It's not good. So then they did the surgery. The doctor said she couldn't remove that uterus, that she'd have to take everything out. There would be like no chance or very little chance of success for actually just removing it. And all the while I had like a bunch of ultrasounds, and I had an MRI, all this stuff, just all kinds of tests to sort of like monitor what was going on. So we come back thinking, okay, we can't have kids. This is devastating. Emotionally, I'm a train wreck. And, trying to keep it together though. That didn't happen. But then my MFM, Dr. Rude, who I had been texting with all along. She gave me her phone number, text me anytime. This best doctor I've ever had, by the way, best doctor. She said, I need you to get a second opinion. She's like, I don't think we're done here. And I was just like, okay. So what she did was she did research and found the best person in Ohio that could handle and would take my case, because it was a really weird one. Two uteruses, accreta, heart condition, cancer. Like, I'm not the easy case when it comes to anything medical. I'm always a challenge. Surprise, surprise. So then she found this Dr. Flicht up at University Hospitals in Cleveland. And Dr. Flicht had been a part of teams where they had done things like uterine transplants and all these like reconstruction, all this crazy stuff. And she's like, oh yeah, I can do it. And so she took our case, we scheduled a surgery. The surgery was last month. It was September 10th. And after meeting Dr. Flicht, I knew we were in like the best hands possible. And she was able to go in, and this was laparoscopic, by the way, so it was like huge surgery. But either way, she was able to go in and remove that uterus where our daughter had been and preserve our fertility ultimately. And we can try again come March, so almost a full year of dealing with this. And it was finally getting that news that we could try again, that they were able to get this basically diseased uterus out. It was a huge weight lifted off of our shoulders. And miscarriage is hard in and of itself. Second trimester miscarriage, you think that you're past that 12-week, you're in the clear. You want to think that. But it's not always the case.
I'm not sure I understand.
My watch doesn't understand. Go figure. Anyways, I'm healing well. We can try again in March. But kind of going back to the whole miscarriage itself, it happens to 1 in 4 women, and I actually think it might happen more often than people know. And there's this stigma that you like can't talk about it, that it's taboo, that you're weak if something like that happens to you, and that is not the case. That's not the case. And the other thing I went through was saying, oh, it's all my fault. All this happened, it's all my fault. It wasn't my fault. There was nothing I could have done. There was nothing I could have done to prevent what happened. Now, to kind of go back on what happened with my daughter splitting in 2 pieces, if she had not, I would probably have died. If she had come out completely, I would have died because that placenta accreta was still there, and if it got yanked out, I would have bled out. So the fact that she split, as awful as it was, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. Like, that saved me. So as traumatic as it is, it's also what kept me here. And I remember when I was in the hospital, I had this nurse who knew I had the 2 uteruses. A lot of people knew about my case because it was crazy when I was there for that week time. And she said, maybe this baby was just clearing things out for her siblings. And I really kind of hold on to that because I kind of feel like that's maybe what happened, because they took the uterus, the 1 uterus out. If anybody wants to see the drawing of what my uterus situation was, it's wild. It was unlike anything any of the doctors had ever seen. The doctor in Cleveland who did the surgery successfully was like, I had given her an MRI, and she's like, can I keep this for teaching purposes? I was like, if my case can help anybody, if I can be any sort of help research-wise, please, like, take it all, So I'm probably like in some study now and whatever, it's great. But going back to everything that happened, it was devastating. I still miss her every single day. I miss PJ every single day. We named her PJ after both of our grandmothers, Phyllis Jane. And there's some days that are harder than others. Around her due date was very, very difficult. And that was right before that successful surgery. So that was like when I still thought I like couldn't have kids. It was just really bad. This other thing you feel after miscarriage or infancy loss is you're not jealous of other women, but like you think it's so much easier for everybody else, and that like nobody goes through hardships or struggles with pregnancy or loss or whatever. You just think everybody has it so much easier, and that's not the case. I still get that way. I still kind of like, ugh, they got pregnant so easy. It's like not a problem. They're fine. They have a healthy. I can't help feeling that way. It's not that I'm jealous of them. I'm sad and grieving for the life I've lost, the time I've lost with my daughter. Now I believe in heaven, and I know she's there. So like, and so does my husband. We both know that's where she is. And she got to like skip all the hardships of the earth. Really, she got the better end of the deal. The other thing we did find out is that when she split in half, she was already gone. Thank goodness. She didn't have to go through any of that trauma. She was already out. She was already like partying it up with JC up there, so she was fine. But is it still hard? Yes. Is it going to be hard the rest of my life? Yes, it is. We see a counselor every couple of weeks. Just because what we went through is nuts. And I just wanted to really tell my story, and I'm sure there's things I'm missing, and if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to tell me your story, please tell me your story. I want to hear it. I will listen. We are in this together. We have all been through something. 1 in 4. And like I said, I think it's more. But the other thing I wanted to do was note that, like I said, today is October 15th. It's International Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. And at 7 p.m. tonight, no matter what time zone you're in, there is what's called a wave of light. So at 7 p.m., the wave of light, which was established in like 2003, invites people that have gone through this, families, friends, loved ones, supporting people, whoever, to join in honoring and remembering. At 7 p.m., just light a candle for an hour. And it's supposed to be like a wave of light because it's international. It's, whatever time zone you're in, 7 p.m., lighting a candle. We had a tree planted. We're doing a little garden for PJ, for remembrance. And there's days where it's fine. I've gotten a lot better since that the successful surgery. But I just want people to know that it's okay to share your story. It's okay to talk about it. It's not taboo. It happens to so many families, to so many women. And you don't need to be ashamed. You don't need to think it's your fault, because it's not your fault. And you can talk to people, and there's so many people who have been through the same thing or similar situations. And don't hesitate to talk to people. Don't hesitate to share your story, even if it's been several years. Share your story. Let's make this a safe thing to talk about, something that you won't get judged for. And like I said, the wave of light, 7 p.m. tonight, light a candle for an hour. Don't leave it and burning and burn your house down. Let's not do that. Let's not make that happen. My story is now there. And again, this is a long video, so anybody who watched it, thank you. And if anybody ever wants to reach out and talk and share their story, talk about their experiences, I'm happy to listen. And there's also all kinds of organizations out there to help support you through these situations. So there's so many resources out there. If you need something, tap into it, because they're out there for you. So in remembrance of PJ, that's my story. Thanks. Bye.